This week on the Aviators, ever wondered what all that air traffic control chatter actually means? Jeff and Curtis are taking us behind the cockpit door to decode ATC gibberish. Sarah hits the pool and learns how to escape from an upside-down float plane. And we visit Condor Squadron, a group of pilots flying a whole fleet of World War II trainers. For non-pilots, the world of aviation can be very confusing and overly technical. The international language of aviation may be English, but with all the abbreviations, acronyms, and technical gizmos, it can sound almost alien. Take, for instance, something as simple as preparing for a flight, taxiing, and taking off. Before even getting into the plane, a GA pilot has to check airmets, sigmets, and METARs before filing his EAPIS to fly from Charlie Yankee Yankee Zulu to Kilo Oscar Romeo Delta. For this flight, he'll be flying IFR as the clouds are sitting at 3,000 AGL with RA and SN expected throughout the route. Then, as the PIC, he has to perform a PFI before making sure that the FBO put enough avgas in his tanks. Finally, he squawks 1400 to ATC before his ETD to get his clearance for takeoff from 24 left. But our pilot forgot to check the NOTAM saying that there's a TFR for this TCA because of a temporary MOA. So no flight today.
America 562, first 190.
So we've decided to decode some of the aviation jargon by looking at one of the most common and yet confusing aspects, air traffic control calls. Luckily for us, our very own Curtis Arnold is an air traffic controller with years of experience. As well, Aviators host Jeff Lewis so happens to be a commercial pilot who is fluent in air traffic-inese.
Super sharp by you, the America 562.
So here's the situation. Jeff and Curtis are going to take us through a radio call on a typical commercial ILS landing. Jeff will be flying a simulated 737, and Curtis will be monitoring his progress. Jeff will be flying a standard approach pattern into LAX. Approach patterns are published charts with directions on how pilots should approach the airport. Curtis will be directing Jeff along this pattern while also vectoring him to avoid other air traffic in the area.
America 562, contact SoCal approach 124.5, good day.
124.5 for SoCal. Have a good one, American 562.
Translation: Curtis is doing what's called a radio handoff, where one controller passes off a flight to another controller. In this case, he's instructing Jeff on board America Flight 562 to contact SoCal Approach, another air traffic controller, on a radio frequency of 124.50.
124.5 for SoCal.
By repeating everything, Jeff confirms that he understands and verifies the information.
SoCal, America 562 with you descending through 12.5 for 12,000.
America 562, good afternoon. Expect ILS runway 24 right, descend 10,000, whiskey's current.
Down to 10,000 with whiskey for the ILS 24 right, America 562, roger.
Okay, so Jeff just announced his presence to the SoCal approach controller. He notifies him that he's descending through an altitude of 12,500 feet with a target altitude of 12,000 feet. Curtis acknowledges this and informs Jeff that he can expect to land on runway 24 or 24 right. He also informs him that the latest version of the ATIS, or the Automated Terminal Information System, is version Whiskey. The ATIS is an automated recording transmitted on a specific radio frequency that gives pilots weather, runway, and approach information.
Los Angeles International Information Whiskey issued at 0853 Zulu, winds 290 at 12 gusting 18, visibility 10, sky conditions.
As the ATIS information is updated throughout the day, each recording is given an alphabetical identifier, in this case, Whiskey. Now, one of the things you may have noticed is that Jeff will be landing on runway 24 right. LAX is one of the busier airports in the country, but it certainly doesn't have 24 runways. So how is it that this flight will be landing on runway 24? And what does right mean? Well, runways are named based on their magnetic compass heading, and if there are two runways on the same heading, they are designated left and right based on the perspective of a landing aircraft. So at LAX, there are 4 runways. 2 of these runways are labeled 24, and then left and right. The 24 means that the heading of the aircraft when they land on the runway is 240 degrees. The 0 is dropped for simplicity. The other end of the runways are 6 left and 6 right. Again, this is based on the aircraft being on a heading of 060 degrees when landing on this runway. As Jeff continues his approach, Curtis continues to give short instructions. Most of these are simple course or altitude adjustments designed to position the flight for landing, or to avoid other aircraft that are also approaching LAX. Curtis advises Jeff of the position of one of these other aircraft, in this case, at his 1 o'clock position, and how far away they are, in this case, 4 miles.
America 562, turn right to heading 150, watch for traffic, 1 o'clock and 4 miles, 737, you're going to follow them on the ILS, there's parallel traffic today.
Roger, heading 150, copy remarks, so we'll keep a sharp eye out, the America 562.
America 562, turn right heading 210, intercept 1 established, cleared ILS, runway 24 right.
Right 210 on the intercept, we cleared the ILS 24 right for America 562. Thank you.
So Curtis has requested that Jeff turn to a heading of 210 and also confirmed that he will be doing an ILS approach onto runway 24 right.
America 562, turn right heading 210, intercept 1 established, cleared ILS, runway 24 right.
To non-pilots, this may sound like he's intercepting another aircraft, when in reality, he's intercepting or locking onto a radio signal transmitted by the runway's ILS, or Instrument Landing System. Here's how this works. Essentially, all commercial airlines fly under instrument flight rules and use the ILS to assist them in landing whenever possible. The ILS uses radio transmitters on the ground and receivers in the aircraft to provide a pilot with the ideal vertical and horizontal path to the runway. The instruments on the aircraft interpret this signal and show the pilot where their pitch and heading should be as they descend to the runway.
America 562, there's your localizer there, 10 miles final, 170 knots to Jetsi, report Jetsi to LA Tower on 133.9, so long.
As Jeff nears the runway, Curtis once again hands him off to another controller. Jeff's flight is now entering the control zone, so LAX Tower will be controlling the flight from here on out.
Tower, America 562 with you on the ILS 24 right.
America 562, good afternoon. Heavy's just rolling out ahead. You're clear to land 24 right, winds 290, 12 gust 18.
Clear land 24 right, America 562.
As he draws closer, Curtis informs Jeff that traffic ahead of him is exiting the runway at taxiway Alpha Alpha, and that Jeff should plan to exit the runway at taxiway Zulu.
America 562, traffic ahead is exiting Alpha Alpha.
Plan to exit Zulu, hold short runway 24 left for departing traffic.
Plan to exit Zulu, short of 24 left for America 562.
America 562, Zulu across, 24 left, left on echo.
Okay, Zulu cross 24 left, left echo for America 562.
Once the aircraft is landed, Jeff proceeds to exit Zulu, and then he has to cross runway 24 left before he can taxi to the gate. So as you can see, while it may all sound very confusing, every radio conversation between ATC and the pilot really does convey huge amounts of information and does so quickly.
America 562, there's your localizer.
Curtis and Jeff have also given us an all-too-rare look at the inner workings of a commercial flight. What goes on behind the cockpit door is just another mystery of modern air travel. Like, why is there always a crying baby? What do you mean you lost my bags? And if it's so unlikely, why are you always telling me what to do in case of a water landing? Well, for commercial flights, a water landing is unlikely. But if you're a seaplane pilot, landing and taking off on water, the chances of ending up upside down in the drink are a little bit higher. And that's where Brian Webster and aviation egress training comes in. Brian's a survivor of an incident where a small plane crashed into a river. He's experienced the terror and disorientation this can cause firsthand, and now teaches others how to survive this sort of incident. As a pilot with a float plane rating, we sent Sarah to experience Brian's egress training herself.
Now, Brian, how long have you been doing this for?
This is our 10th year full-time. I've actually been doing it 12 years since I started the conception of the company.
What are the couple of key things that you really try to get across in your classes?
The big thing is disorientation. If you go into an aircraft and end up in the water at high speed, first off, you're subjected to a fairly hard impact. There's no question of that. And then you have to find a door and get yourself out. And with that being said, it sounds simple, but when you're upside down, underwater, you have seconds to get your basic order and out a door. It happens very quickly, and the numbers are not impressive at all unless you've been trained. And then it's a mirror image. It's exactly opposite. It goes from a high percentage who didn't get out to a high percentage who do.
The majority of the class takes place in the pool. Since people don't generally go flying in their swimsuits, the class has to take to the water fully clothed. Dunking an actual aircraft body into the water would pose certain technical issues, as well as create a very real hazard that someone could get trapped in. So Brian uses a number of easily submersible components to simulate what a passenger or pilot would experience if they were trapped in a submerged airplane. All of the steps in the egress training are designed to give the students experience in situations where, in a panic, they would instinctively make the wrong decision.
With the 12 candidates we have here today, if we didn't teach them, they instinctively would undo their seatbelt immediately. And unfortunately, that's not the right thing to do. You have to stay in your seat because the aircraft, whether it's upside down or backwards, doesn't make any difference. The aircraft is as you knew it until you undo your seat. And as soon as you undone your seatbelt and you revolve, that's when the disorientation takes place. And you're very, very likely not to be able to find a door handle after that.
To experience this, the students are strapped into a seat inside a frame that can easily be rotated upside down. Once they go over, they have to unlatch the door, grab the outside of the frame, unbuckle their seatbelt, grab the life vest in front of them, and then exit the cockpit. And after seeing a few others have their turn, it's Sarah's turn to give the shallow water egress trainer, or sweat chair, a try.
Are you ready?
I'm ready, let's go.
Oh, guys, we're in trouble. This is good.
Yeah, water up the nose, for sure, but I'm alive, so that's a win. Yeah. Other than that, I don't know, I'm ready to do it again. That was a lot of fun. Let's do it again.
Hopefully, none of the people involved in this class will have to use this training in a real-world situation. But if the unlikely scenario arises, they can be assured that having experienced something similar, their chances of survival have certainly increased. This is an AT-6 Texan, or as the Navy called it, an SNJ. Its purpose was to train pilots for the Second World War. That means, of course, that this aircraft is over 60 years old. And for those of you who may be wondering, yes, it still flies. This is not an aviation graveyard. This is Condor Squadron, a group of aviation enthusiasts who fly and maintain AT-6s and SNJs. They have 13 aircraft, 10 of which live on site at Van Nuys Airport in Southern California. Some viewers may be familiar with Condor Squadron as they routinely do formation demonstrations or memorial flypasses at air shows across the country. One could say that formation flying is Condor's specialty. And as the squadron's recently elected president, Chris Rushing, told us, it's rare for a Condor member to take to the skies on their own.
We hardly ever go out single ship, which real fun. Go out and fly with your friends, and flying formation makes it very unique. We usually start with 4, and like I said, we can grow to as many as 13. And it just seems like the more airplanes you get, the louder they get, just the better it all sounds.
And sound it does. Depending on the model, the T6 can pack a 9-cylinder, 600 horsepower radial engine under the cowling. This produces so much power that the tips of the propellers move at nearly supersonic speed, causing mini sonic booms to be heard by observers on the ground. Today, this aircraft serves to remind us of a period in our history we dare not forget. During the war, thousands of T-6s, SNJs, and the British Commonwealth equivalent, Harvards, trained pilots to go off and fight, among other things, Nazis. Chris is hoping that the Condor squadron can carry on with the AT-6's pedigree, minus the Nazi fighting.
These airplanes are fairly expensive, so we understand that not everyone can own an airplane. So we're actually developing a program to where young pilots can come with some tailwheel experience and fly a T6. It's an advanced trainer, of course, which they used in the war, so it's not all that difficult. But the main idea is we just don't want to damage the airplane. We don't have a whole flight line full of airplanes like they did, at Luke Air Force Base when they were training during the war. So our main objective is to take care of the airplanes, but I want to continue the legacy, and to do that we got to have new pilots. So with the old pilots flying with the young pilots, I'm hoping that we can really continue the legacy here.
Now, the main thing that makes trainer aircraft a trainer is the second seat. This allows for an instructor or student to sit behind the pilot and be able to take control. Or if you're like us, the second seat is a perfect spot to stick a television correspondent or a cameraman.
Arm goes through there.
Curtis will be going up with Condor Squadron member Stu McAfee.
And then Will, I don't even know who is in your back seat. Peter. Oh, Peter. Okay.
Stu will be acting as the lead on this flight, and as such, he's leading the pre-flight briefing.
So we all know what's going on today. We're doing a TV show called The Aviators. I'm going to just talk about the flight. It's going to be a very basic, fast flight. We're going to use a fast profile, all fast signals. This is the lineup. I'm 1, Rick, you're 2, Sparky, you're 3, Chris, you're 4, and Will, you're 5.
So there you have it. 5 T6s will take to the air with Curtis sitting in the rear seat of the lead aircraft.
This fits squarely in the life is good category.
Okay, Condor flight check-in. 2, 3, 4, 5. Very good, boys. Let's go to ground.
Stu is not always the lead pilot. The Condors rotate this position among their senior members. But whoever the lead is, the other pilots will follow their directions to a T.
Van Nuys ground, Condor 1, flight of 5 at the Condor Squadron with Delta, ready to taxi. Condor 1, Van Nuys ground, runway 16 right, taxi via Alpha. 16 right, via Alpha, Condor 1 in flight.
So as you can see, because this airplane sits in conventional gear, which means that the small wheels on the back, it sits nose high on the ground, Stu's actually turning the airplane left and right so you can take alternating views over either side of the nose to see where we're going. It's a real treat to get flying with fun antique airplanes. There's not a lot of places in the world that continue to do this very regularly.
The A in AT6 stands for Advanced. pilots didn't come to this aircraft to learn how to fly. Instead, the AT-6 taught pilots to fly better and prepared them for the much larger fighters they would go on to fly over the beaches of the Pacific and the battlefields of Europe. The T-6 shares many of the same features as the larger fighters, such as retractable hydraulic landing gear, a low monowing design, and of course, a powerful radial engine. Once getting to a proper altitude, the Condor form up in an echelon formation. With Stu in the lead, the other aircraft form up to the left and right of him and slightly behind. To accomplish this, the Condor pilots use markings on their fellow aircraft for reference. The resulting formation is as graceful as a Bolshevik ballet, but with the raw power of the Kentucky Derby. As a testament to the control these pilots possess, one aircraft is able to quickly move and form up behind the leader, creating a diamond of steel, fabric, and horsepower. While all of this is impressive and certainly very beautiful to behold, one really does have to step back for a moment and wonder why. What is it that possesses these pilots to go out and fly 60-year-old aircraft in formation? They're certainly not training for war. This is Ray Sparks, or Sparky as he's better known. He's 84 years old and is flying Condor 3 in today's flight. Ray actually served in World War II as an aircraft mechanic for the Navy. He was also a childhood friend of the founder of Condor Squadron, Dick Sykes. He's been around Condor Squadron since the beginning.
Well, Dick had two T-6s because they were not as costly to operate as a P-51. You could buy them dirt cheap as you could buy a P-51. Well, he decided he wanted to get into the Civil Air Patrol business, and we became CAP, Civil Air Patrol, Squadron 135. So we were very active. We were a very effective squadron. We used to compete for searching with the Sheriff's Squadron in California here. They had one chopper. They came into the top people in CAP and said, you know, if we had a couple of more choppers, we could do a much better job than these old trainers. So they got two new choppers and almost cut us out completely, and finally we said, to hell with it.
And that was the end of the Civil Air Patrol days for the Condor Squadron. The group then became the organization it is today. They found air shows and other events to perform at and continue to do so. But the question still remains, in the face of everything, why did Condor Squadron continue?
Well, we still have airplanes. We still have a good operating basis with the airport people, LAWA, Los Angeles World Airports, and we still like to fly. There they are, we own them, we don't owe anybody anything, everything here is paid for. Why not?
For more information on today's segments, visit www.theaviators.tv. From our official home at the Whitman Regional Airport in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, we'll see you next time on The Aviators.